Hello, and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News Channel. Today we're going to talk about VeChain. There's a lot of people who actually ask me on the mainnet why VeChain has had problems, when is it going to recover, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to attempt to explain it in this video. It's actually pretty simple to actually explain, and I'll tell you like what I tell people to buy VeChain right now. This is not financial advice, but this is just my personal opinion. Now, VeChain has had a hard time recently. When Bitcoin's gone up, VeChain's actually gone down. Now, there are three factors contributing to this VeChain dump while Bitcoin is rising. One is, I think the worst factor is that Binance is closing its US doors. We've been talking about this for quite a while, and without Binance, VeChain has very little liquidity. This is one part of VeChain strategy which I vehemently disagree with the team, and that they're trying to run everything through OceanX instead of getting on other exchanges. At least that's what I've heard so far. I think that's a really bad strategy when you think about the VeChain investors that are actually involved, because OceanX unfortunately is not US compliant. Um, since OceanX is not US compliant, there's no way that US investors can actually come on in either way. For instance, a competitive coin like IOTA actually has eToro, so people aren't quite as worried. With VeChain, you know, you can't buy it at eToro, you can't buy it at Coinbase, you can't buy it at Kraken, you can't buy it at any of these places. So the regulation and compliance regulatory side, with Binance closing its doors to US customers, is very, very worrying to VeChain investors. And as you can actually see, that is the main reason VeChain is actually dumping today as Bitcoin is rising, because people are dumping VET for BTC at Binance. They know the Binance close is actually coming. So they're dumping VET for BTC before it loses liquidity. You can see the VET BTC price is lower. The price at Binance is generally a little lower than the price of other things. And Binance has been leading the way for the dump. OceanX has actually dominated in volume for several days, but now Binance suddenly jumps up with VET BTC, and that is leading the dump. So the fear of losing liquidity at Binance is huge, because VeChain doesn't have any other US on-ramps, and US investors do make a significant portion of VeChain. I think this was a bad strategic decision by the VeChain organization to try to basically have all their volume go through OceanX, especially since OceanX is not a US-based exchange, or not a US-based exchange, does not have US compliance. The second reason that VeChain is having problems is because there's some internal thing about VTOR being too expensive. And right now, transactions on VeChain generally cost a little more than transactions on other mainnets, because VTHO is, even though it's 1/10 of a cent, you need a lot of VTHO to process each large transaction. And I don't understand why VTHO is still appreciating in price right now, because that doesn't make any sense at all. They want VTHO to be cheaper. What I think they're actually going to do eventually is increase the the generation rate of VTHO, and increase the supply, so each VTHO is very, very cheap. That probably won't affect the ROI for VET holders, but it would make your VTHO it would make your current VTHO worth a lot less. So if you have VTOR token, you might want to sell it right now, because their plan is to make each VTOR worth a lot less, probably by generating more VTOR per VET you hold. So there's some discontent in the community based on some comments made on that. Now, the third thing is, and this just compounds the problem, is that I think some people were looking for an announcement on the 18th, and we didn't get any kind of big announcement. I think some people were ready to sell the news anyways, but since there was no news, it's even worse right now. Now, Sunny did say on April 18th that there was going to be some big news in about 2 months. Some people actually took that to be a literal 2 months instead of about 2 months, and expected some kind of announcement on the 18th of June, which we did not get. So based on that, some people are dumping on that too. So when you have all these three factors together, especially number one, the fact that Binance is closing to US customers and VeChain doesn't have a US on-ramp, that really compounds things, and that's what's making VeChain take such a fall. If you look at the VForge Explorer, Obviously, there's some exciting stuff going on. The transactions have skyrocketed. This is like one of the main concerns about VeTho being too expensive. So this is why they want to get the VeTho price down as well. So the transactions have skyrocketed the last few days. Even on a Friday, which is usually down, it looks like it's going to be several million VeTho burned. So there's definitely something really cool going on the mainnet. There's a client that's onboarding or a client that's actually going into production based on the transactions that we actually see here. However, I don't think many investors actually look at the mainnet. I'm going to guess less than 10% of investors actually look at this. Most investors are waiting for some kind of big announcement or looking for an exchange like Coinbase to actually trade VET in, and they don't see it, so they're panicking. If they would actually look at the transactions graph, they would know that VET is actually making a lot of progress. But that's not the point, because this isn't going to really affect investors normal investors that much, because most investors do not look at the graph. I'm gonna guess like most people don't even know this exists. I know I talk a lot about it, but you have to remember that we're kind of like the more hardcore researchers and maybe some of the enthusiasts or supporters. This is not true for other traders or investors. They don't really look at this. They're just looking to make a profit, so they're not going to see this. So this is not going to affect the price of the coin too much until big enterprises actually really start demanding VTOR or VET and start buying them from the exchanges. So if you look at this, I mean, the price should be going up, but like I said, it's really not going to matter all that. This is really not going to matter all that much. Yeah, this is not really going to matter all that much, and mainly because very few people know about it and very few people are going to look at it. So should you buy VeChain right now? Okay, for me personally, I'm still stockpiling up on VeChain. It's cheap right now, and I do believe in the project's future because of all the partnerships and now all the utility they have on the mainnet right now, or the utilization on the mainnet right now. However, there are concerns, especially there are no U.S. compliant exchanges that actually deal in VeChain. That is a very legitimate concern. So if you're looking for short-term profits, unless you happen to know that Coinbase or eToro or Kraken or something is going to add VET for U.S. customers, if you're looking for shorter-term profits, definitely, or a coin that may not go down when Bitcoin goes up, in the short term, you might want to look at IOTA or Ethereum or something like that. So for me, since I believe in the long term, I'm still going to accumulate. But yes, I am diversifying out into Ethereum and IOTA as well, with some of the money that I might have put into VeChain. So I'm splitting the VeChain money up into things like IOTA and Ethereum, while still stacking up on a little bit of VeChain. So I'm not as heavily vested in VeChain as I otherwise would be. But I can't blame people who want to basically put that money into IOTA or Ethereum and just not put any into VeChain, because it's still a bit up in question. I believe they'll resolve the problems, but some people may want to wait until the problems are resolved to actually buy into VET. So if you're looking for more short-term profits and you're interested in the supply chain industry, I would say IOTA. If you're interested in mainnets, probably Ethereum. So I wouldn't really recommend, unless you truly believe in the project, I really wouldn't recommend buying any more VeChain for the time being, until they get a couple of the problems resolved, especially the first one that I mentioned. So that is my view on VeChain right now. I still believe in the project, but it's good to diversify out into other projects, both in the supply chain era and in the mainnet market. All right, that is my report on VeChain. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you and have a nice day.